So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of positive things to say about this episode. So let's talk about it. I will say this. They have been this season using a lot of really interesting sets. Instead of just being out in the woods all the time or at, one of our communities, I love that they're using abandoned subway stations and warehouses and stuff like that. I also think that there were a lot of really beautiful shots and just a lot of really beautiful camera work in general, a lot of really good lighting. Some of that, though, I had some issues with the technical stuff this episode. But there was still some really beautiful shots, and that's been a pattern this season. So that's great. And I'm happy that Alexandria finally got a win by getting the horses back. I also like seeing Carol and Kelly being friends. I really like that. And I really loved the hug that Magna gave to Carol. And I think more people need to hug Carol because I think she needs it. And I'm pretty sure that was Magna's way of, just forgiving her for what she did. And I loved seeing the kids interacting and talking with each other rather than with the adults. I don't think we've ever seen that before. We've sort of maybe seen them kind of playing off in the background, but I can't think of a scene where it was just about the kids like having conversations. And I appreciate the fact that they know what the adults are doing by promising to come back. And, the kids are smart enough to know that that might not be the case, but it's supposed to make them feel better, but really it just makes the adults feel better. And they understand that and they play along. Maggie and Negan together, now they're alone together. And I'm interested in, what that's going to lead to, what kind of conflict that might lead to, and maybe some kind of resolution that they might finally come to in, the next episode or the next coming episodes. I also like that Negan continues to be the voice of reason for the most part. And he saved Maggie multiple times. And yet Maggie still says, you're just pretending, you're not on our side. Like, if Negan wanted to kill her, he could have so easily done it. So I don't know. It just feels like Maggie, she has to disagree with him at every turn. Like, she just wants to be contrarian. She just can't agree with him. She just can't be on his side. She just can't follow him. And I understand, but it's a little frustrating. The episode opens with this really great action scene. And I loved that opening shot. I love the kind of slow-mo. Everybody except Daryl was hit by something. Maggie wasn't hurt, but she was almost. I think she was almost hanged. I loved this sort of, berserker attack in the forest at night, and I was super, super into it. It felt scary for our people because, like I said, everybody except pretty much Daryl was, attacked directly, injured. So I was all geared up for that, and then they just cut away to Alexandria, and it's daytime. Okay, but why take us out of the action? Then the next time we see Maggie, she's separated. Was there no plan for what they would do in the event that they got attacked or they got separated? This show, okay, they never have any plans for what to do in the event of separation or destruction or anything. Like, they had no plan all the way back to the prison. When the prison was destroyed and everybody was separated, they didn't have an escape plan. They didn't have a meetup point. Why on earth wouldn't they? And this is 10 years later and they still haven't learned? Like, there should always be a plan. I don't understand. Like, the only time I can think of them having a plan is when Daryl and Ezekiel made that plan when they were fighting the Whisperers at Hilltop. that if one of them goes down, then the other one will get the kids out. But besides that, again, everybody got separated, and there didn't seem to be a meetup point. Maybe I'm forgetting, but it didn't seem to be there didn't seem to be a meetup point or any kind of plan for what to do in the event that, you know, people get separated from the main group. Was Maggie planning on just still like going after Meridian with just Negan and a wounded Alden? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Well, I know that Alexandria needs food, but that is a terrible plan and you are going to die. What was the point of introducing Maggie's group when they were just going to kill everybody off? I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody's dead, right? I guess maybe Elijah might not be dead because we didn't see him die, but I mean, it looks like he was hanged, but we didn't see him die, so maybe, but I'm pretty sure we saw everybody else die. But from Maggie's perspective, she doesn't know what happened to Daryl. She doesn't know what happened to, and we don't even know what happened to Daryl because we never got back to him. She doesn't know what happened to Gabriel. I'm trying to think about who else is out there. I mean, are those the only two left besides Negan and Alden? Are those the only ones left? I don't know. But I just think it was a mess. And as far as leaving Alden, I didn't understand during the episode if they were talking about killing Alden or letting him kill himself, or if they were talking about just leaving him temporarily while they go to get help. Because I'm not opposed to the idea of leaving him locked in I think it was a church or something like that, with some supplies, in the hope that they can get more help, you know what I mean? Like, they can bring help back to him. Yes, he might die by the time they get back, but he is slowing them down, so I can kind of get on board with that. But I thought they were talking about, like, maybe killing him or letting Alden kill himself because he was slowing them down, and I was just like, that's terrible. That's not... Like, we wouldn't do that if he was really a part of the family, right? What the hell? But then when they left him, I was like, well, oh, okay. Well, it does make sense. I mean, he's pretty well protected there if he stays quiet, and hopefully none of the Reapers come around, and, you know, he can lay low and eat his MREs and he can be okay. You know, he can survive until help can come for him. I'm on board with that plan. But they weren't clear on what the plan was. I did think it was an interesting position to put Alden in. I didn't realize, you know, like, I know that Alden used to be a savior and then he moved to Hilltop. But it didn't really click until he said something like, you know why I stopped following him and I started following you. And I was like, oh, right, these are his two leaders, his two former leaders, because, you know, Maggie's been gone too. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting position to put Alden in. And, you know, I've come to really like Alden as a character, so I hope he does make it out. I also don't like that trope of when someone is about to die and they want to talk about it, their friend or family member or partner, like, doesn't want to hear it. You know, he was trying to, I think, ask Maggie to make sure that his son was taken care of if he dies, if he doesn't make it back, and Maggie just didn't want to hear it. And I'm like, no, let the guy, you know, I think that brings you some kind of peace and comfort to know that, you know, your kid or your loved one or whatever is going to be taken care of. So, you know, let the guy ask, you know, like, I don't know. That's just a trope in fiction that bothers me. So the stuff going on with Gabe, I mean, is he a man of faith or isn't he? I guess they're trying to tell us a story of him maybe struggling with the answer to that question himself, but it just feels really sloppy. It just makes him, instead of coming across like someone who is wrestling with their faith, it seems more like he's just being a hypocrite. So, I mean, I do like how badass he's become, you know. What did he say to the guy? Like, God isn't here anymore or something like that. Like, damn. But I would like to know what is going on in Gabriel's head. How does he really feel? What is he really thinking? I think we need to explore that. He needs to have a conversation with Rosita or something. I mean, we got a little bit of that in his sort of drunken monologue in 10:19, I think. But because he was drunk, I don't know how much of that was really how he feels. So I would like a little bit more explanation. I would like for them to dive into that a little bit more, because I do like that he's a badass, but I mean, it's like, is he unhinged or isn't he? Is he a man of God or isn't he? Like, it just feels sloppy. It just feels sloppy. And I think it could be interesting, but the way that they're doing it isn't. And the other issue that I had wasn't with Gabe himself, but the blue filter that they had over that scene. I couldn't tell if that was supposed to be early morning or in the evening. And when they would cut away to the stuff that was going on in Alexandria, it felt more like afternoon. But when they cut to Negan and Maggie, it seemed like maybe at first, I think the stuff with Maggie was taking place in the morning, but then maybe in the afternoon or the evening. It was so hard to tell. That blue filter was so saturated, and they kept jumping back back and forth between those three scenes. And every time they did, I just couldn't figure out what time of day it was supposed to be in Gabriel's scenes. And I mean, you can fix that very easily in post. I don't understand why, like, that shouldn't be, that's old Walking Dead bullshit to just not. I actually looked up the director to see if it was Greg Nicotero, because he is kind of famous for not giving a shit. Giving no fucks about day-night cycles, or is it raining? Is it not raining? Who cares? Who gives a fuck? Not Greg Nicotero. But it's actually not directed by Nicotero. It was directed by somebody I'd never heard of. So I don't know. But it's a mess and it's sloppy, and we shouldn't have these basic flaws, these basic mistakes. Like, it's just lazy. So that bothered me a lot. I want better for season 11, Man, Carol. You know how much I love Carol, but she's getting frustrating because there's just no growth with her. She feels a tremendous amount of guilt and she wants to help, but she's going about it the wrong way because she continues to just make unilateral decisions and just do whatever the hell Carol thinks needs to be done, or whatever she wants to be done. Like, whatever she wants to do, she just does it without any regard for anybody else. And, like, yeah, they needed to get those horses back, and I'm glad that they did. But Carol has this, the end justifies the means kind of attitude that I disagree with. Aaron is like, you were scheduled to help. And Carol's just like, well, you guys got it covered. And he's like, well, yeah, we picked up the slack because you weren't around. I mean, that's not how you mend things with your community. She's feeling guilty. She wants to help. That's how you help. So I'm just getting really, really frustrated with that. And like I said, I am glad that they got the horses. I also really disagree with the way that she killed that horse. What a terrible way to kill the horse. I mean, you don't have a spear that you can jam into its brain. You don't have a gun with a bullet to spare. Like, you can't find a better way to kill the poor horse. Like, that's awful. They want Carol to be ruthless and pragmatic, but I think that they're damaging her character. I want her to stop acting so much on her own, stop acting so much as the lone wolf, and to roll up her sleeves and say, okay, what can I do for the community? What do you need? I'm here to help. That's what I want from Carol, instead of her continuing to just go off and do whatever the hell Carol wants to do. So, yeah, all in all, this episode was disappointing. I liked some of the set pieces. I liked the action in the beginning. I liked some of the character moments. But for the most part, really disappointing for me personally. I don't know. What did you think? I would really like to know how you guys felt about this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.